Bardo Dani Gyasuchi, Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi, Drola Venture Sangye Rupashu, Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonamla, Janchu Bardo Dani Gyasuchi, Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi, Drola Venture Sangye Rupashu, Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonamla, Janchu Bardo Dani Gyasuchi, Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi, Drola Venture Sangye Rupashu. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge in enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, wherever we go, whoever we meet, it doesn't matter the culture, the place, and so on, we all want to be happy. There's no one of us that likes to suffer. Actually, we all want to be happy. Then there are some people that, sadly not so many, but some people who are able to go beyond, and for them the priority is not their own happiness, but the common well-being of everyone. But still, the wish is for happiness. Okay? So, as we wish so much for happiness, as happiness is our objective in this way, it comes together with another feeling which goes together, which is the wish not to suffer. That is something that is also very strong. So what happens is that the wish not to suffer and the wish to be happy are actually two sides of the same thing. Okay, it's like two sides of the same coin. I don't want to suffer and I want to be happy. Which means compassion, not wanting to suffer, and wishing to be happy, love. These are the two sides of the same coin, the two manifestations of the same thing. The fact is that why do we suffer? And where do we seek for a solution? Normally, our tendency is to try to create conditions around us which shall be perfect. So what we do constantly is we are always trying to make things, okay, why I'm suffering now? Because this thing is not okay, because the other thing is not fine. So what the day that I'm going to make this like that, and we try to create the conditions in the best way. And in the moment that we are able to have wonderful conditions, what happens? We need something else. Then another thing is coming, and that's endless. Look, I know many people that have perfect economical conditions, wonderful people loving them around them, very good health and body and everything, living in a beautiful environment, and they are unhappy because there is still something missing all the time. So if we look to our own experience, whenever we try to do something and we are able to do it, after some time there is something else. Okay? Not so long time actually, almost right away. Okay? So what happens basically is that happiness cannot come from external conditions. We cannot develop a state of well-being, of satisfaction, of peace, only through external conditions. It's something that it doesn't matter how much we try, it's not going to happen. This is what I believe. Okay? We can have momentary states of pleasure and happiness, that's wonderful, but none of these external conditions can sustain and maintain our state of happiness. So, where is actually our suffering coming from? If we analyze, if we look a bit more clear, we'll see that our suffering is coming from the so-called disturbing emotions that we have, okay, which is our anger, which is basically attraction and aversion that manifests into anger, hatred, violence, aggression. Then we have like attachment, desire, insatisfaction, jealousy, envy, fear, arrogance, and so on. Where is all of this coming from? It's coming from what we call the root of suffering. And basically the root of our suffering is the incoherence in which we live. We live in a state of incoherence within the way how we live reality, how we experience reality, and reality itself. We experience reality in a very incoherent way. Okay, I will make a few examples. 2 examples maybe. When we observe the reality around us, if we analyze it, if we observe it carefully, is it a reality that is permanent, never changing, stable, unchanging reality? Or are we in an impermanent reality where everything around us and ourselves also is currently changing and transforming at all moments? Permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent, right? Okay. I think this is quite clear. All of us, as we analyze and we look, we say, yes, we live in an impermanent reality. But now, can we get upset because something changes? Not can, we do get upset when things change. Normally when something changes, what do? We say, oh yes, it is impermanent, but I don't want to accept it. Or we simply say, oh, we have someone to blame right away. Okay. Normally we have someone to blame. So basically what happens is, reality around us appears to us as being permanent or as being impermanent. How do we relate to reality? As if it was permanent or as if it was impermanent? Permanent. Is that coherent? No. So this is one example of incoherence. Reality is impermanent, and we have no doubt about that. Reality around us, which is called composed reality, it is impermanent. But still, how do we relate to it? As if it was permanent. And the most crazy thing about it, it doesn't matter how much we hit our face, we still do the same. Do we know things are impermanent? Yes. Do we still get upset when they change? Yes. Okay, that's called ignorance. That's this way of relating to reality in an incoherent way. Okay? Another example. When we observe reality around us, can it happen that, before observing reality, can it happen that we get upset because things didn't happen in the way we expect them to happen? We create an expectation on a person, we create an expectation on a situation, on a project, whatever. And then it doesn't happen in the way we think it should happen. Can we get upset and suffer about it? We can take out the can. Okay? We do get upset and suffer because reality is not what I think it should be. Okay? What happens when I have one point of view about something, and then you come and you have a different point of view about the same thing? Can we discuss and have a conflict between us? So, how does reality appear to us? As being objective, existing in the way how we think it should be, existing in a way independently of us, or we experience a reality that is subjective, that depends on the observer, that everything that I see and experience is a result also of my own perception and so on. How do we experience reality? As if it was objective. It's there. It's solid. That's how we see it normally. Otherwise, why would we get upset? Why would we go in conflict when someone has a different point of view? That's reality. That's how things are. Everything is subjective. The strange thing would be if we had exactly the same point of view. That's really strange. Is there anything that two people can have exactly the same identical point of view about? I don't believe so. It can be very similar, but never identical, because we are different. Okay? That has been somehow one of the great challenges of scientific research also. Because you need to make a research and have developed methods of research which are not influenced by the observer, which is quite impossible, but it's one of the difficult aspects of scientific research also. Anyhow, this is another subject. The point is that we relate to reality as if it was objective. Actually, it is subjective. Okay. This is totally incoherent. So it's not a matter of being incoherent with the Buddhist view. It's a matter of being incoherent with reality. In Tibetan we say, lo surneva. When you analyze something, lo surneva means with a correct way of analysis, with a clear mind. Whoever analyzes with a clear mind should get to similar conclusion. Not identical because we are different, but let's say the same. That's why, for example, if we look in quantum physics, the results of quantum physics, the way of seeing reality, it's very similar to what Buddha said 2,500 years ago. And it's basically, quantum physics was not there repeating Buddha, they were analyzing reality, just as Buddha did. So whoever analyzes reality in a correct way will get to see reality. It doesn't matter what religion we are from, it doesn't matter if we believe in a religion, if we don't believe in a religion, whatever way it may be, whatever name we like to call it. Okay? The fact is that we suffer because we are totally incoherent with reality. So, what do we need to do? Develop coherence. Eliminate such incoherence, which is a long, deep, complex process. Why? Because this incoherence is deep and strong within us. It's not something that is just like subtle and easy to take away. Okay. It's like, there are some things which are easy to clean. Like if I have a very dirty table, and there are many big pieces of dirt on top of it, I can take a broom, and I go like this, 2-3 times, and then the big dirt is gone. And then it looks like, oh, what a beautiful result, so easy, look how much I got. But then you have the stains that are on that table. You know, which is strong stains of oil that have been infiltrating into the wood. How long does it take to take away the stains? Long. You need special products, you need to put a lot of effort, one day after the other, and then after one whole day of effort you look in and say, almost no difference. And then you go there again, one whole day of effort, then you look at it, then maybe after 1 year, then you start seeing that it's really getting clean. Okay. So, the more gross is our defilement, the more weak needs to be the antidote. The more deep, the more subtle is our defilement, the more strong needs to be the antidote. Okay. And here we are not talking about a conceptual problem. We are talking about a deep, profound, conditioned state of mind. That's why we know things are impermanent, and still what happens? We suffer when they change. It's not a matter of understanding, it's a matter of changing our paradigm. It's a matter of experiencing impermanence, experiencing reality as it is. And from that, we are able to change our way of life, let's call it. Okay? So there is, Buddha have taught specific process to go through that. So luckily we have these teachings that we can follow. Okay? So, it becomes very important for us to eliminate our own defilements, change our mind. But how can we do that? Because we can say, okay, I understand that I experience reality, I relate myself to reality in an incoherent way. I can see that, I understand it, but how do I change? Because, for example, do we know things are impermanent? Yes. But do we still grasp at them as if they were permanent? Sadly, yes. Do we still suffer because things change? Yes. Even though we know they will change. It's quite amazing. By thinking and understanding, they are always changing and still I am suffering here about it. Okay, so it's something deep within us. So, the point is that, how can we change our mind? Our mind has a great quality that we need to use for our own benefit, which is the fact that we are totally unable to think about two direct opposite things at the same time. We are not able to have two direct opposite modes of apprehensions at the same time. Making an example, we are not able to think, I like water and I don't like water at the same time. We can think one just after the other. I can think I like the taste, but I don't like the temperature. Okay, that's possible. But at the same time to think I like it and I don't like it, it's not possible. No? We can change our mind very fast. Today I like, tomorrow I don't like, now I like, after I don't like, we can change it 1,000 of times. But for the more that we can be totally incoherent and even if we take the most schizophrenic person, is not able at the same instant to think I like it, I don't like it. It can go like a loop from one to the other, okay? But not at the same time. So, normally, when I think it happened to all of us at some time, to have a state of mind, an emotion that we don't want, that we understand that is harmful to ourselves. Maybe we have one thought, maybe we have one attitude, we have some aspect of our mind, an emotion that we say, okay, this is not good for me. I really don't want it. Maybe we are jealous, or we have fear, whatever. Okay? We have one idea about something that we don't want to have. Normally, what we do, we try to throw it away. Does it work? When you say, I don't want this thought, go away. What happens? It bounces back. And when it bounces back, what happens? It becomes even stronger. It's like if it's sticky. My sensation is like if we take something very sticky, we try to throw it out, and the more I move to throw it out, the more it sticks back. You know, in Brazil we have one saying which is quanto mais mexe, mais lambuza, which means the more I move, the more I get dirty. Something like that. Which means the more I try to throw it away, the more it comes back stronger, and it's like if in the beginning it's concentrated in one part, and then I try to throw it away, and when I see it, it's all around. Okay. So what can we do in order to eliminate a state of mind? Throwing it away is not working. Okay? Because it happens. Now we say, I don't want to think like this. Then we become some sort of, or we become somehow obsessed with wanting to eliminate that thought. But looks like the more we want to eliminate it, the stronger it gets. So, what can we do? We need to use the quality of our mind that we are not able to have two opposite thoughts, the two directly opposite thoughts at the same time. So if there is one specific state of mind that I want to eliminate, what do I need to develop? A directly opposite state of mind to the one I want to eliminate. That's what we need to do. So the first step is understanding what is this direct opposite state of mind from the one we want to eliminate. For instance, if I have a mind of envy, I need to develop rejoicing. If I have a mind in which is a state of anger, I need to develop patience and love. And like this we can go on and on. There are many different. If I have a mind that grasps as something as being permanent, I need to understand that that lacks permanent state because it is impermanent. And like this we can go on and on. There are many, many different ways how we can do it. So the first step is understanding this state of mind I don't want. What is the direct opposite state of mind? And how can I develop it? Because then comes the long process of inducing ourselves to the state of mind that we need to develop in order to eliminate the one that is harmful. Okay? So this is, in very few words, the process. First, recognize the sickness. Second, recognize the medicine. Third, go out for the medicine and take it. In other words, first thing, recognize what is the mental state that harms us. Second, what is the opposite state of mind that we need to develop. Third, how am I going to develop that state of mind? Okay, I think it's quite clear, right? Well done. So, today the introduction is becoming the whole thing, but that's okay. What happens is that once we understand that, okay, I want to eliminate a state of mind which is not good for me, we have one problem here, which is the following. It's not enough to understand. Okay? Because as much as it may look strange, we are able at the same time to grasp at something as being permanent and understand that it is impermanent. Okay? I make the example with the flower. We look at the flower. Okay? And when we analyze it, is the flower impermanent? Is it changing right now? Or it becomes dry from one instant to the other? It's changing right now. Okay, look at my beard. Is it growing? If we analyze it, it has never happened to me to close my eyes, open, and the beard is grown. It's like something that every instant, slowly grows. Okay? So if we analyze, go back to the flower. We look at the flower and we ask, is the flower impermanent? Yes. Is it constantly changing? It's because it is interdependent, it depends on cause and conditions, it interacts with many other things, so the flower is constantly changing. Right? Can we get it? Yes. Now, stick that to mind. We'll keep the concept that a flower is impermanent. But now, let's look, while we have this concept and this understanding, let's look spontaneously what happened. We look at a flower. Close our eyes to this impermanent flower. Open the eyes. Look at the flower again. Is it the same flower or is it a different flower? Has it changed or not, spontaneously? Do we know it has changed? Yes. Can we perceive the change? So what happened is that even though intellectually I understand that it is impermanent, conceptually I understand that it is impermanent, in a spontaneous, direct way, what happens? It still appears to me as if it was permanent. Okay? And even though I understand it is impermanent, when it changes, can I still suffer? Yes. Maybe a little bit less, because at least I have some understanding about it. But still, I will suffer. Now, one thing, how can we change this? Okay? The step that we have just said before is, first, understand the state of mind that we want to eliminate. In this case, is the grasping at the flower as being permanent. Second, what is the antidote? The antidote is the understanding that the flower is impermanent, is the grasping at the flower as being impermanent. Third, what is the process to realize it? This is the main point. So the process is, first we need to analyze it and to understand clearly the impermanence of the flower. And here I just want to explain a little bit better how it works. So because we opened the subject of permanence and impermanence, I just want to go a little bit deeper to it, which is the following. Let's take, for instance, this piece of paper. It's the example I did before. Okay? When we look at it, do we have a mental image of the object? Like if we close our eyes, can we imagine this piece of paper? I suppose yes, right? The more we analyze it, in more details we go through it, the more detailed our mental image becomes. Right? So, we look well at it. Now, in a very spontaneous way, is it the same or has it changed? The same, right? We can't stay here for the whole day. Is it the same? Now, continue the same? Suppose yes. And now, is the same as before or no? Same or different? Same continuity. But let's say if you lend me your car and I give it back to you like this, is it the same car or is it a different car? A different car, right? So
it's in a different state.
That's for sure. But the mental image that we have, okay, of before and now, is the same mental image or is it a different mental image? A different mental image, right? So what happens is that when can we perceive change? We can only perceive change when the object cannot sustain anymore the mental image that we have. That's the only moment when we can perceive change. So all the times I showed the paper, was there any change on it? Actually, yes. But could we perceive it? No. Why not? Because our mental image was such that the object could still sustain it. So the object has not changed. Because we relate to reality through mental image. The object, which we call flower, is constantly changing. Okay? But our mental image is not. So until the moment that the object sustains the mental image, we cannot perceive change. So the more is detailed the mental image, the more we can perceive change. It's like, for example, if there is a person that we know very well, can we perceive change in that person more easily? Yes. We just look at the way of walking, we say something has happened. We look the way how the person speaks, something there. Sometimes even without talking, maybe energy, whatever, we can perceive something and then we look and we say something is happening. Okay? Then we take, for instance, someone that we really don't know so well. We have a very rough idea of the person. Can we perceive much change on the person? No. Okay? So what happens is that the more is detailed the mental image we have, the more we can perceive change. The more rough is the mental image, the less we can perceive change. Okay, is this clear for us? So, the real problem is because we relate to reality around us through mental images. And we believe that the reality are our mental images. So what happens when I see you today, then we're going to meet again tomorrow? Who do I expect to meet? The same person or someone different? The same person. And what happened when I go there and you are not the same? What happened when I meet you the next day and you cannot sustain anymore the mental image I had of you? What have happened? Who's to blame? Something wrong have happened. Okay? It's not that we say, oh, my mental image needs an updating. What happens is that we blame you because you are not anymore what you are supposed to be. Okay? But what happens is that we believe that our mental image is reality. We make a confusion between the two. So this is why reality appears to us as being permanent, because mental images are permanent. The first mental image that I showed of the paper tissue, do we still have it? Can we still access it? Yes. Can we remember it? If we close that, can we remember more or less the first moment I showed the tissue? I would say yes. Depending on the memory of each other, but I suppose yes. Has that object image changed? No. So what happens is that we are not able to perceive change until the object sustains the mental image we have. And that's fine. The problem is that we believe the mental image is reality. And when reality around me doesn't fit anymore with the mental image I have, who I blame? Reality. Okay? So now, how to change that? We are now specifically talking about impermanence, okay? So I will sit to meditate. First process is analyze the whole process, why reality is impermanent. We take, for instance, one object. So I take the flower, I look at the flower and I say the flower is impermanent. Why? Because it's constantly changing. It's gradually constantly changing because it's interacting with everything around. It came from causes, it's giving results, it's interacting with everything. It's in a constant process of transformation. I'm not able to perceive that because I relate to a mental image that is permanent, but actually it is constantly changing, even though I cannot perceive such change. Let's say we go down deeply into details on understanding and making an analytical meditation on the impermanence of the flower. Okay? Once we have done that, we have to a conclusion in which we say, I am sure the flower is impermanent, no doubt at all about it. Then what happened? We let this analytical mind a little bit stay by the side. And we simply start observing the flower in the most spontaneous, natural way. And we let the mind that perceives the flower naturally come, and the mind that perceives the flower as being permanent, because we look, how does the flower appear to me? As being permanent. I close my eyes, I open again, what flower do I expect to see? The same one. Can I perceive the change that is happening here? No. So how does the flower appear to me? As if it was permanent. And I let that image come to my mind. Okay? I let the mind that grasped at it as being permanent to arise, to become somehow solid. I give space for it to show its own face somehow. Then, what I need to do, when this becomes clear, then I say, oh, it's not like that. The flower actually is impermanent. It appears to me like that simply because I am attached to a mental image. But the mental image is not the reality. Mental image is permanent. This object, which is a union of parts, is all constantly changing. So I analyze it, it's impermanent, and I need to deconstruct the mind that grasped at it as being permanent. It's not enough just to go to look for impermanence and not somewhere else. I need to look at it and I need to deconstruct that mind that grasped it as being permanent. I think it's not like that. It is always changing. It's is just my perception that it seems in this way, but actually it's not like that. That's an illusory perception. It is actually impermanence. So I will disconstruct his mind until I get to the conclusion the flower is impermanent and I can feel it. And I remain in that state as long as I can. And in that moment there is no any thought of the flower being permanent. Then I finish that state of meditation and I look again at the flower. What happens? It appears as being permanent again. That's why we need to repeat it hundreds and thousands of times. But slowly, slowly, the mind that grasps at it as being permanent will become less and less and less, weaker and weaker and weaker, and we will suffer from it less and less and less. Okay? It is a gradual process until one moment that I look at a flower and it's impermanent. That's how it is, that is nature, and that's fine. Okay? Is it difficult? Yes. Does it take effort? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. What other choice we have? To pass the same time seeing it as permanent. It's like the same thing. Let's say here we don't have this problem, like in São Paulo and Brazil we have a lot of problem of traffic. So that's a very clear example. We are in the middle of the traffic. What happens often? People complain that they are in the traffic. They get nervous because they are in the traffic. Oh, this terrible thing here in the traffic. But what choice do you have? I already stop people getting out of the car and start walking. Okay? I did that once. Just for fun, instead of staying there, it was such a bad traffic. I was not driving, so I could get out, have a nice walk, and then when the traffic was bad, I got back to the car. Yeah, after a few kilometers I actually was walking. But this is except was not inside São Paulo anyhow. The point is that when we are in a situation that we need to wait for something, let's make another example. We are in the airport and suddenly the plane is late. We need to wait another 10 hours. Okay? Can we become nervous and upset because of that?
Yes.
But what's the point? I still need to be there for 10 hours. So it's just much more simple to say, okay, let's relax, let's do something useful, let's use this time in a nice way.
Sooner or later.
Because I have no other choice, you know. I'm sorry to say it's quite silly. Not to use other words. To suffer in this way. You know, I've got to a conclusion personally, I have no patience to suffer. No patience for suffering. Is the problem there? Okay, finish, let's move on. No need to stay there. It's like some sort of, oh, the plane is late. What can I do? It shouldn't be late. Look how terrible, and this will happen. We don't know what will happen, and there we are suffering about what will happen. And they're all because of this. I am in the middle of the traffic, all this terrible traffic. Come on, listen to nice music, meditate a little bit or something, listen to some teachings, do something nice. Okay. The fact is that, what is it difficult to put effort to realize the impermanence of phenomena, of reality around us? Is it difficult? Does it take effort? It takes a lot of effort. It's not easy. But is it difficult just to stay perceiving reality as if it was permanent and suffering out of that whenever change happens? It's much worse. So anyhow we need to leave. Anyhow time is passing. It's like being in the airport and choosing. You want to pass your 10 hours waiting complaining? Or you want to go to the shops, look nicely, meditate a little bit, try to use your time in the best way as you can. Even though it may take some effort. Make your choice. The fact is that life goes on. Does it take effort to put energy into meditation and into developing wisdom and to experiencing reality in a coherent way? It takes a lot of effort. But it takes much more energy, which is not effort, but it takes much more energy, and it's much worse not to do this and constantly to suffer because things are impermanent and we cannot understand it. So, one of the points which comes from here, which is a bit difficult for us, is because this process requires constancy. And we like so much to have something new. We always want new things. Like, oh, what initiation is Lama Chokyi? Oh, this one I already had, I don't need to go. We always want something new. No? Actually, what we really need is the same thing, but to make it different. Oh, this I already know. And so what? Knowing is nothing. It's something, but it's nothing actually. It's just the first step. I need to familiarize myself with it deeply. Oh, these teachings I already received. Have you realized them? Do you really deeply put them into practice? No. So let's do it again. We're not talking about learning just some conceptual knowledge. In that case, okay, don't need to repeat so many times. Understood, finished. Like I was seeing when I was trying to teach a little bit of Tibetan language. It was very interesting because I saw I have a totally different approach. When I need to teach Dharma, I have a lot of patience to repeat the same thing thousands of times. It's no problem at all. Because it is a process of understanding deeply and we need to repeat it again and again. But when it came to teaching something mundane, such as a language, I had no patience at all. It comes to the fact of saying, okay, it is like this. Now you study. I'm not going to repeat it again. Because it's just a matter of understanding knowledge. You have the alphabet. Ka, 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 na, cha, 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 nya, ta, 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 na. Listened. Here's the recording. Now learn it. Finish. I'm not going to repeat it again. Okay?
How many students did you have?
No. So the point is the following, that instead, when it's something that refers to the Dharma, what happens is, we repeat again and again, because the process of understanding deeply, of going through it, it's a completely different thing. So the point is that we create somehow a habit, or one, how do you say in English, addiction. We become addicted to new things. To, how do you say in English, novità? Novelty, to new things, let's say. We become addicted to it. Because whenever we have something new, mentally, actually it brings some little well, we call it, whatever hormone that brings us happiness, okay? It doesn't matter. Whatever is the name. The fact is that whenever we see something new, there is something inside, nice. So the problem is this creates addiction, and in our time this is so clear. We're always going from one subject to the other. I want this and I want that. And you look in television, need something new. All this I already know. We really don't know it, but we already know. Just look the way how we look at news nowadays. People are not reading anymore anything, not going deep into anything. We just want to know the subject. This happened. Okay, now next what? It's actually quite sad, okay? Quite dangerous. Like, for example, there was one study, which a person was telling me, that nowadays in Italy, or in your own countries, how long is the lesson in a school? One lesson is about 50 minutes, right? 50 minutes. 50 minutes is the standard time for a lesson, maximum time for a lesson.
1 hour.
Okay? The time, why it was established as 50 minutes originally? This is something that came from the 70s, where there was a study which was made that students, what is the longer time that they are able to keep attention? And the longer time that was seen that a student was able to keep attention in the same subject was for 50 minutes. So that's why the time for a class was made 50 minutes. They remade the same study nowadays, this past years, and from 50 minutes it went down to 7 minutes. The ability of keeping attention in the same subject. It is quite serious. Because our need for new things creates addiction. And we will go always jumping from one to the other. So also our ability to keep attention, we start to get bored. We feel no more pleasure out of it. We need something new after some time. The problem is that when we talk about developing our qualities, like through spiritual path, it's not a matter of always going to new things. It's a matter of having constancy in the same ones. Like, for example, doing yoga. Just make an example. What's the right way of doing yoga? It's learning every time new asanas and changing completely the sequence? Or we take one sequence that is good for us, we learn that well, and we repeat it for the whole life, more or less. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So, let's say the sun person, they're doing the, how do you call it in English? The sun salutation. The sun salutation. We do that, okay, the person do the sun salutation for 50 years in his life. Is it exactly the same? Is it the same set of movements? Yes. But the way how the person is doing after 50 years and 10 years before, is it the same or is it different? It's different. But is it still the same exercise? So what happens is that when we repeat the same thing, again and again, what happens is that the objective is not to learn new things, but is to go deeper and deeper into that one. That's the main thing. That's the beauty of it. Okay? Constancy is much more beautiful than new things, actually. To be able to have constancy is much more beautiful than always having new things. And in Buddhism, in the West, one of the main difficulties I see is that we have all conditions. We have teachings, we have teachers, we have strength, we have wish to practice, to learn, we have faith, we have intelligence, we have all material conditions, we have everything we need. What we lack very often? Constancy. So, without constancy, it will not happen. You know? It's like an example I gave before of cleaning the dirty table. Sometimes some people even create addiction for the cleaning. So what happens, they just let it become dirty again so they can clean it again, and then make it dirty again so they can clean again just superficially and never go deeply. So the important thing is that we do need constancy. We do need to go deeper and deeper gradually. And that's the way how change can happen. Because actually there are not so many things that we need to do, okay? If we are able to develop coherence with reality, that's more than enough. If we are able to develop love, open our heart, and have coherence with reality, that's all we need. So, is it difficult? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. Do we have an alternative? Continue to cultivate ignorance. That's the choice. There is no way in between. I'm sorry, there is no such a thing as instantaneous enlightenment. Maybe many of us would like to have, take a pill, and give a blessing, and then there you are. Enlightenment has come. I don't believe it exists. If anyone ever finds it, please come to share it with me also. But I don't believe it exists at all. Okay? And when we look in the past, all the great masters that really reached great realizations, none of them did without constancy and without effort. So basically the fact is, here we are in our life, let's make it the best of it. What do I need to do? Two things. Develop love, compassion, and wisdom. Wisdom means to be coherent with reality. Accept reality for what it is. Relate to reality in a coherent manner. That's what we need to do.
Can I have a question? Sure. Okay. How to practice compassion and love in front of situations which are miserable and you can't stand being in the middle of it? I mean, I just think of my son, for example, teenager and doing whatever they want, and I can watch him running against the wall again and again and again, and I want to change it, I want to help him, he doesn't want to.
Okay, briefly. Compassion means to wish others to be free from suffering. Okay? And it is something very important feeling. It goes together with love, which is the wish that the other may be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But compassion and love without wisdom can be very frustrating. Okay? Because what happens is that I see you suffering. I see you doing things that from my understanding, are not good for you. I don't want you to suffer, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to make a change. So, the wisdom comes in the understanding that the only thing that I can do, or anyone else, we take any person, we put a person here in front of us, come all the Buddhas together, all the holy beings, everyone, we call all the most wise persons from the whole world to come here. No one can do anything more than interacting with the person that needs to be helped. The only thing that we can do, that anyone can do, is to interact with the person. And the wisdom is into finding the right key of how can I interact in a way that I can make the change that I want to see.
And
so what happens is that within that, very often we may suffer because we feel that we are impotent. What can I do? I cannot do much.
Or even being attacked a bit. Mm-hmm. You know, I can't talk to him and tell him something if he is the one immediately starting fighting. Mm-hmm. So I try to get out of the way, but then I can't be in interaction.
So the point is, we need two ways. One thing is that if we do not have the wisdom of understanding what is the limits that we have, we will suffer a lot in the process. This is with anyone. Okay? So, the moment I am in front of someone that is suffering, and I love this person, I don't want him to suffer, and I don't know how to help, and I see it happening again and again, I may feel completely overwhelmed about it and suffer a lot. So one of the points is understanding what is my limit. My limit is only the interaction that I can have. The second step is, what is the best way of interacting? And here it depends on our experience, depends on our knowledge, depends on our wisdom. Sometimes we try to interact in a way, instead of helping, we can make more harm. Like one time I remember I was in one situation, very clear for me. And it was a situation where I was seeing a reality which I really didn't like at all. It was quite difficult. And I had to accept myself that in that situation, even though I had a lot of wish to help, the best way of helping was not helping at all. Because it was a situation specifically that anything that I would do to interact, it will somehow make the situation worse. So in that case, the only thing I understood, it was not easy, and I understood another thing, that sometimes we care more about helping than of actually making the situation work. We care more about me helping than the person being helped. Sometimes this happens. Even sometimes it happened to me that I am in a situation, someone comes to help, and I say, oh please, I don't need help right now, just let me be by myself. Oh, when I come, I want to have the other person become upset because I'm not accepting the help. And then I am the one that needs to help the person that what they're supposed to help me. Okay? So sometimes we are more interested in helping than actually helping the person being helped. Okay, this happens also sometimes. So we need sometimes also to overcome this, our own attachment in this way, and understand what is the best way how I can help. This is the point. And if in the process of helping you deeply, I'm going to get hurt by some way, if it's really working, and I love you, okay, I will put myself in that situation. But if I see that being in that situation is just making the whole thing worse, because I am harming myself and I am not helping you, then I need to create space in order to find a different solution. I need to create space in order to find another way of how to deal with the situation. Okay. Then, so, I would like just to conclude reading at least one question. Okay. So, very briefly, this question is about what's the difference between emptiness and dharmakaya, because in many texts, some people, they don't see the difference. And the point is that emptiness is the true nature of the mind, while dharmakaya is the very subtle mind, free from every defilement. To reach that state, one needs to realize the true nature of the mind. But one thing is the true nature of the mind. The other thing is the very subtle mind, free from all defilements and its stains, which is the mind of Buddha. These are two different things. Okay? Now we make our dedications and we stop here for lunch. Losang tempel sassundi, grove muset antone gyurci. Nimo dele sedele, nime kuyan dele shin, nimsen taktu dele pe, koncho sungi jingiro, koncho sungi madruso, koncho sungi tashisho. Oma huntam balame sangye rinpoche, kyo balame kuncho rinpoche, rinbalame kendo rinpoche, kyabne kuncho sumla chobaru, locho sambo bagyo tashipa, tuche tempe jingye yamoda. Pietro Sambetse Pashe, Pande Lame Shela Choba. Kanshi Tremba Samgi Chinange, Panche Kunseleshi Timena, Soze Gyachi Shuberina, Sentenson Kordan Chela Choba. Kenum Church Soa Tabe, 2000 Kanto Nebe Sachoter, Nedan, Ugon, Tatsu Shivadan, Chedan Trashi, Belwar Zedu.